How does anxiety impact and lower our resilience? Welcome to another episode of It's Her Turn. I'm your host, Dr. Kate Dow, and I'm sorry I missed everybody last week. I got so focused on getting ready for this retreat that I had the very next day that I just had to let it go. And so I'm glad to be here today and check in with you and share a little more about anxiety. As women, really, it's for anybody. Men can relate as well. But I talk about it from a point of view of women because a lot of my work has been with women. And I feel that there's a specific way of looking at and holding our awareness about how women struggle with fear and anxiety in the face of this cultural impact of the patriarchy. And when I say patriarchy, since this came up just the other day, um, I had somebody who has done work with me and been in my Facebook group, and she said that she's like, I wasn't sure. Do we hate men? And I was like, what? Like, no, we don't hate men. What are you talking about? And she's like, well, you talk a lot about the patriarchy. I said, well, the patriarchy isn't it isn't about men. It's became its own entity in a sense. There was a certain attention around how the patriarchy was formed from, I believe, a fearful place in men and a desire to feel in control and have power. But I don't see that as a gender issue. I see it as a cultural, societal, religious structure that's been in place for thousands and thousands of years that has greatly negatively impacted men and women. So I'm glad to get that straight and get the record clear. Um, my work with fearless, with feminine wisdom that comes with that, is about actually the healing that we as women get to be stepping into more and more, so that we can have a healthier relationship with our own inner feminine and masculine sides, which then allows us to show up in our relationships with men from a healthier, clearer, centered, empowered, loving place. So the idea being in my mind is that as women do this healing, we get to then hold space and make it safe for men to do healing around their woundedness from being, disregarded from the feminine, because of the patriarchal message towards men. So this is actually kind of a nice lead into resilience. What is resilience? From my point of view, resilience is very much about being able to hold on to ourselves. And that means in the face of difficult situations, challenges, trauma, um, you know, unexpected things happening, like having a global pandemic. And a lot of us, I would say everyone on the planet got touched by that example of unexpected happenings like a global pandemic and everyone's lives getting completely shifted in one way or another, and being faced with this interrupt of your routines, the things you did that maybe were things that helped you, the things that you did to support your health and well-being, the people in your life, the support systems you accessed. These were all interrupted. And so everyone's sense of, I believe, resilience was sort of shaken up, and we had to reevaluate and recognize, wow, how do I do this different? How do I do it just with myself for those of us that were completely isolated and living alone, or within your family unit when maybe you had a lot more other resources and support systems, maybe in your workplace or in friends that you could see regularly, or yoga classes, or whatever that might have been. So resilience is our ability to adapt to difficult situations and figure out how to tap into those resources and support ourselves across all the parts of us. In my book, I talk about the three aspects: mind, body, spirit, or soul, or energy, whatever we might want to say about that. And those aspects are pretty well known as a holistic model. And for me, I felt excited to share a point of view about anxiety from a holistic model because anxiety often gets talked about just in the mental health realms. And yet it is a prevalent, I mean, it's all over the planet. If it wasn't there before in large numbers, it's there in even larger numbers now, given the state of awareness that people have not only about this pandemic and all the different points of view and feelings about it, um, but also the kind of larger awareness of the bigger mitigating factors like climate change that have been getting kind of finally named and validated and brought to a little bit closer to the front of that table to be discussed. And when we're sitting in that, that's a whole nother level of how do we be resilient in the face of an unknown future. You know, in the past, many of us probably felt like, well, we just knew what the day was going to bring, and we knew that things were going to continue on, and it was all going to be okay. So, in a way, we could say that having a bit of those blinders on is almost like a form of resilience because you just say, oh, it's going to be okay, it's going to be okay. And and that can be a very positive mindset when things are difficult. Like, it's going to be okay, we're going to get through this. You're going to get the support and care and you need. You're going to make the time to get that support and actually work with it and have it there for you. um, I would say in the last year and a half, 2 years, it's really been a higher level of anxiety for everyone. So let's look at that. Let's unpack that a little bit. What were people struggling with, and what are people still struggling with as a result of anxiety about personal, global, let's say personal, professional, community, global, right? The picture, the way that we are connected gets bigger and bigger. Our small circle of our little world, our private world, and then our larger context, which then becomes the collective consciousness of the whole planet. So, so let's just recognize that in the pandemic, people were having a lot of anxiety, a lot of fear of the uncertainty of what was going to happen. And therefore, we also had a lot of mental health challenges that were getting bigger for people: depression, feeling kind of hopeless, feeling unsupported, not having access to their same resources. And that was really perpetuating a lot of mental health challenges for people. And then we have how that folds right in to our experience of our physical health. How do we take care of our physical health when we're struggling mentally with anxiety? Well, for a lot of you who may be here with me right now, right, we know that when we're anxious, it's harder to take care of ourselves. It's harder to make sure we're going to eat well. We might go and grab the easy food that's like fast food and it's not a high quality, nutritious food. And so therefore, not only are we eating under a duress, fight or flight state in our body, but we're also eating food that might not be really that helpful for us, like sugar, like high carbohydrate, like fast food, that is not as nutritious at all. And yet it's part of a survival reaction often, right? Is to just go to those things that we've done in the past that we're sort of like, well, at least I'm eating. And that's true on one hand. And on another hand, it's sort of like, well, it might have been better to wait a little longer and do a little more self care, calm your body down, and go make a better choice Maybe you just, run to the market and go grab an apple and some yogurt or something instead. So part of it is that we have a mind that's reacting in fear, and then we have a body that's also now in fight or flight, meaning we have stress hormones running through our body. Our brain is activated in a survival mode. We're like kind of down in this reptilian brain of more fear, more reaction, um, not able to think really clearly and make those good decisions. And then when we have this mind that's in stress, the body's in stress, where's our spirit, right? Where's our ability to feel connected with our resources, be they people or our faith or our, you know, our meditative practices, those become harder to access when we're in that place. And then what happens to our resilience? And resilience is a mental resilience. How can I make good choices and see clearly what I need to do? Physiological choices and resilience is, how do I support my body that might be feeling really impacted by this mental and emotional stress? And if I don't know how to do that, then I'm not going to eat good. I'm not going to sleep good. I'm not going to feel capable of calming down enough to take care of myself. And then that cycle continues, because then spiritually, we also don't know how to access those resources. So it becomes a bit of a, you know, cat chasing its tail sort of impact with resilience. Because in my view, as people, specifically women that I write about in the book, Fear Less, the Art of Using Anxiety to Your Advantage, we operate from a place of needing to be more deeply connected with our resources somatically and spiritually so that we can be calmer mentally. Even though I start the book with talking about the queen and being the queen of your mind, I do that because a lot of us are heavy duty thinkers, right? We're overthinkers, we're overworkers, maybe perfectionists, maybe always trying to figure out the next step and not really knowing how to listen to that deeper somatic feminine wisdom that I talk about a little further on in the book. But that's what my experience is that it's almost like it goes against what we normally think. Well, if you just think good thoughts, then everything comes together. And when you're having fear-based thinking, sometimes it's actually easier to try and help support the body to come into a calm, rested, peaceful, safer place. And that then helps our mind come on board with feeling and believing that you're safer. So that's why I lead with a lot of embodiment work and breath work. And, then we slowly bring that mind into focus so that we're not stuck in the fearful, obsessive thinking or the panic attack reactions, the anxiety that's stuck in stories of like lack of safety in social situations. And so resilience to me is this multidimensional experience, mind, body, spirit. And when we have fear that we don't know how to work with, then we have that spiral reaction. The mind goes in fear, then the body goes in fear, and then our soul, in a sense, we lose connection with our soul knowing consciousness, and we believe like we're alone and we have nothing here to support us. And I believe that's where a lot of people are on the planet. And we want to go out there to try and help it be better. But if we're so anxious and dysregulated and stressed out and stuck in our fear, we can't really help make things different out there. We've got to start here. That's just my premise. It's my experience personally. It's my experience professionally in working with people for the last over 3 decades. And how do we do that? Well, the 3 steps I want to share are this idea of pause and breathe, right? Is number one. If you're in that worked up state and you're noticing that you absolutely are out of touch with your own sense of self and your own sense of resources that you have accessible to you, then your resilience, your sense of resilience is pretty diminished, right? When we feel that way, we get more fearful, more disconnected, right? More dissociated maybe from our body, less able to think clearly, more in a fear state where then we lose connection with our own inner wisdom, our own inner knowing of what can help us. And I believe that that's happened for thousands of years for women. So it's not that that's new, but it's amplified right now. It's amplified for many of us. And so the practice, because it's practice, it's not perfection, the practice is to take a pause, no matter where you are. Even if you have to pull over and you're driving and you're having a panic attack, pull over, stop the car, put it in park. If you're at work, take a break, go in the bathroom, lock the door. If you're around a lot of people, excuse yourself, go sit somewhere quiet by yourself and take a pause. That means we invite a pause on the thinking. Even though it'll keep chattering, we just take a pause of attending to it, right? We bring our attention here. Maybe even bring our hands to our chest so we can really focus on breathing. And of course, deep belly breath is great, but it's hard to do sometimes when you're really scared. So let's start here. So we breathe into the chest. We pause and we let the chatty mind keep doing its thing, but we focus right in on our breath and we just say, oh, in breath, out breath, in breath, out breath. So that's step one. And we might need to do that for a good 3 minutes. We might need just to name our breath, stay with it, and keep pausing, keep bringing our attention to the breath. So what are we doing with this breath? We're focusing the mind, we're helping support the body's nervous system to come back to a sense of safety. So we take those breaths and we're making contact with our heart center. This is another important piece. When we make that contact, we are actually supporting the body to believe, okay, I'm safe. We can even internally say to ourselves, I'm safe right this minute. I'm safe right this minute. That's all I know, right this minute. So then after pausing and breathing, then we continue to support the body by holding perhaps the chest and a hand on the low belly and bring that breath now down into the low belly. We're still making contact with the body. And as we do this, we're imagining letting go of the tension in our shoulders, in our face, in our head that have gathered up in that fearful state. We're imagining releasing it down our body, out our feet, into the earth. So as you inhale, you're just finding that tension, releasing it down the body, down your feet, into the earth. And what is this doing? So now we're helping the musculature of the body know that we're safe because we're not having to run right now from bears. We are safe. The energy is coming back from our extremities back into the center. Our nervous system, our central nervous system, spine, everything is coming back and being able to bring flow, blood, air, oxygen. And so the whole system is coming back into homeostasis. And when that happens, we're able to emotionally be more connected and consciously notice and give permission to release some of that tension and emotional holding, tightness down the body. And as we drop down into the earth, we're inviting a consciousness of grounding. The body, we're coming back into our awareness. We're no longer like way over here with stress. We're like coming down in the body, feeling our feet, feeling the ground beneath us. Even if you're in a 20-story building, you can notice the floor beneath your feet and imagine the earth 20 feet below, 20 floors below. It's vast beneath you. So we've now done step 1, pause and breathe. We've done step 2, which is come into a body supportive letting go of tension. And from this place, then we want to support a sense of resourcefulness, a sense of being connected. And so this is where in my book I talk about the goddess archetype is this connection to our sense of spiritual connection, divine resource, whatever that is for you. So that might be, I'm going to emotionally connect with people in my life that I love. So then you bring that forward in your mind's eye and in your heart as you're still holding this heart and low belly connection. And you think of that person that you love, and that becomes a resource for you, bringing coherence into the heart, coherence between the heart and brain and gut. And again, we're supporting the whole system emotionally, mentally, physiologically, and energetically, right, on an electromagnetic level, to all come back into coherence. So you can be thinking of that person you love. You could also be thinking of a teacher, maybe a spiritual teacher that you've been connected to, and kind of calling them in, feeling that support of their teachings and guidance for you. Or it might be connecting with a sense of the creator, God, the goddess in some form spiritually that you've connected to, Are you connected to Saraswati in the Hindu tradition? Are you connected to Athena in the Greek goddess connection? Wherever that might be, it might just be the Divine Mother or Kuan Yin in the Buddhist tradition. So connecting with whatever that divine consciousness is, and I ask for that support and resource, or I ask for that compassion and care. So now I've gone through the 3 steps to support my resilience, and then see how you feel. Normally, this is something that you can do for a period of time. If you've really stressed, you can do it for 15, 20, 30 minutes. But even in a brief time, people usually report like, oh, I feel like I'm not dissociated and as anxious. I'm feeling more calm in my body and safe. And I'm feeling more spiritually supported to what helps me. I feel more cared for and connected in myself. And to me, those experiences that I just named are a definition of resilience. I'm back. I'm here in this moment, and I can face what's happening with much more awareness and conscious choice of what it is I need in this situation. Do I need to speak up? Do I need to set a boundary? Do I need to walk away? Do I need to go be by myself? Do I need to reach out to people and connect? All of these beautiful choices that we get to become more conscious of are what supports our resilience. Resilience is not just, let me think resilient thoughts. It's just not in my book. It's a holistic embodiment and realignment and connection into self that allows us then to meet life on life's terms, even when it's uncertain, even when it's challenging and triggering. And this allows us to help ourselves, to help those we care about and those we work with, and support the greater collective in the face of these adverse situations. So I hope this was helpful for you, gave you a little nugget with this 3-step coming back into resilience process that's based on my work around Fearless, the art of using anxiety to your advantage, which really was like a culmination of the many, many years that I have worked on anxiety for myself and with clients, and brought in lots of different wisdom traditions, research, mind, body, spirit research, and and practices. The practices are what matter. The more we practice, the more our whole body and mind and spirit can adjust and realign quicker. So try it on, see how that practice is for you. Share it with people you think might benefit from it, and know that everyone's different. And sometimes coming into the body initially feels very difficult. So that becomes an opportunity to practice and see, how do I connect deeper into my body's natural resources and wisdom so that I can reconnect, realign when I'm going through a level of fear or panic that's impacting me. So many blessings to you, and another reminder that you are always welcome to come and check out my Fearless Feminine Wisdom Facebook group that is growing, where I share a lot of teachings, and we have conversations and Facebook Lives about different topics, and help women begin to do a deeper level of inner works to help support them in their own empowerment and freedom from fear and a sense of liberation to be your true self. So remember, it's your turn to find your voice, own your truth, and claim your power. Thanks for joining me today, and we'll see you again for another episode of It's Her Turn.